Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We are going to decode the invisible rules that quietly shape the largest fortunes in history. And I mean the actual rules, completely bypassing the usual social media noise. You know how the media absolutely loves to highlight the flashiest aspects of wealth? Well, they rarely show you the actual blueprint underneath it all. We're going to change that right now. So picture this. You wake up tomorrow, check your bank account, and boom, $10 billion. Would you stay rich forever? Now, most people, myself included probably, would think the answer is an absolute, undeniable yes. But history tells a very different, honestly kind of surprising story. Every single year, people inherit vast fortunes, or they win insane lotteries, or they just suddenly become wealthy out of nowhere. And guess what? A shocking number of them lose almost everything. It really reveals this fundamental truth about money. If cash alone created wealth, why do some people build billion-dollar fortunes again and again and again, while others just lose it all in a flash? It all comes down to a massive disconnect between what we see on the surface and what's actually happening behind the scenes. The whole world obsesses over the extravagant results of wealth, right? The mega yachts, the private jets, the sprawling mansions. But those are literally just the results. The true cause of that wealth? That is about playing a completely different, almost invisible game. Because behind nearly every lasting fortune lies decades of solving incredibly difficult problems, making calculated decisions, and building long-term systems. It's really not about the flash at all. It is entirely about the foundation. Okay, so let's just dive right in and peel back the layers of these 5 invisible rules that billionaires never, ever break. Our agenda for this explainer covers, first, the wealth illusion. Second, building systems, not income. Third, the power of ownership. Fourth, thinking in decades. Fifth, multiplying with leverage. And finally, solving expensive problems. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the wealth illusion, where we'll uncover the actual root of lasting fortunes. Look, we have to start by completely stripping away this whole myth of the overnight success, or, the idea that adding one magic morning routine to your day is somehow going to make you a billionaire. It's just not how it works. Enduring wealth is actually a repeating pattern of decisions that compound over time. It's not some superhuman trait you're born with. I mean, it's so tempting, right? Searching for that one lucky investment or the perfect crypto coin or just hoping for a brilliant flash of genius. But wealth on this massive scale almost never comes from a single decision. Whether we're talking about an entrepreneur building a company or an investor acquiring assets, it's the exact same repeating pattern. Consistency absolutely trumps luck. Moving right along to Section 2, build systems, not income. This is all about the shift from selling your time to actually creating value. And this brings us to our very first concrete rule. We really need to define the massive fundamental difference between income and wealth. So income basically means earning money that is tied directly to your time. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. Pretty straightforward. Wealth, on the other hand, relies on assets and systems that continue to produce value even when you completely step away. It's a total mindset shift. You go from asking, how can I earn more money today, to asking, what can I build right now that creates value while I'm literally sleeping? To see how this actually impacts you directly, let's look at a comparison between a highly skilled hourly worker and a software founder. On one side, you have the worker. Their income is absolutely capped by their time. Sure, they get immediate, guaranteed pay, which is great, but there's a hard ceiling. On the other side, the software founder's uncertainty is sky high. They might earn absolutely nothing initially despite working absolutely grueling hours. But here's the kicker. Eventually, their product begins serving thousands, and then maybe millions of people. The business isn't growing because the founder is suddenly working 1 million hours a day. It's growing because the system itself is creating value at a massive scale. All right, that takes us to Section 3, the power of ownership. Why simply creating value just isn't enough unless you actually own it. So building a system means absolutely nothing if you just give all that value away to someone else. Imagine for a second taking a secure, steady salary back in 1976. For a long time, you'd look like the clear winner, right? You're getting promotions, immediate high income, total security. Now, compare that to a couple of guys sweating it out in a literal garage building a little company called Apple. They had zero security and a totally uncertain outcome. But here's the thing, a salary pays you for your time exactly once, whereas ownership compounds forever. As Apple grew, that early equity stake became worth more than most people could earn in, 100 lifetimes of a salary. And that brings us to the absolute most vital question that successful entrepreneurs ask long before they ever ask how much they make. They ask, what do I own? Now, obviously, ownership doesn't mean every single company magically becomes the next Apple. Investments carry risk and businesses fail all the time. But ownership creates the possibility of benefiting from long-term growth in a way that regular wages alone just never, ever will. Let's transition over to Section 4. Think in decades. This is the silent business partner of extraordinary wealth. So ownership creates the opportunity, but it requires a silent business partner to truly explode. A partner that never demands a salary, never asks for equity, and literally never sleeps. Time. Just think about Warren Buffett's timeline for a second. It is truly eye-opening. He started investing really early, right in his 20s. Through his 30s and 40s, he was steadily building a solid foundation. But the vast majority of his fortune, I'm talking about the massive compounding explosion, happened after he turned 50. He didn't suddenly wake up and become a dramatically better investor on his 50th birthday. His wealth exploded simply because compounding needed decades to do its heavy lifting. The best way to think about it is to treat your money like a tree. Imagine an impatient gardener who literally digs up a tree every single morning just to check if the roots are growing. I mean, it sounds completely ridiculous, right? Yet that is exactly how so many people treat their money. They react to every single headline, jumping from one trend to another before anything even has a chance to mature. Contrast that with the billionaire mindset. You plant the tree, you water it, you protect it, and you step back and allow time to work its magic. Constantly abandoning your long-term plans to chase the next exciting thing just ruins your ability to build anything lasting. Which brings us to Section 5, multiply with leverage. This is how you achieve truly exponential impact. Thinking in decades gives your ideas room to grow, sure. But to transition from reaching 10 people to reaching 1 million people, you absolutely have to turn linear effort into exponential impact. Imagine trying to push a massive, heavy boulder with just your bare hands. It's basically impossible. Now imagine using a long metal bar to multiply your force. Just like moving that boulder with a lever, business leverage doesn't actually make the rock any lighter. It simply exponentially multiplies your human effort. Without leverage, your income is totally limited by your own physical effort and the hours in a day. So what does leverage actually look like in the real world today? Well, modern forms of leverage include things like software applications, books, online courses, digital media, patents, factory distribution, and, of course, code. The beauty of this is that you write the code or record the video just once, and it can serve millions of people repeatedly without requiring you to rebuild the whole thing for every single customer. You put the effort in once, and the leverage just keeps doing the work for you indefinitely. It's a total game changer. We finally reached our last major rule in Section 6, solve expensive problems. This is the final layer of scaling immense value. Here's the catch, though. Leverage is incredible, but it only amplifies what is already valuable. If nobody needs what you're building, well, your leverage changes absolutely nothing. So what makes one startup worth a few $1,000s and another worth literally hundreds of billions? I'll give you a hint. The founders of the billion-dollar company didn't necessarily work any harder. They just chased problems that were far, far more valuable to humanity. The divide here is actually pretty simple when you think about it. Take a neighborhood coffee shop, for example. It solves a local problem, it's a great business, people love it, but it has a very limited reach. A global software company, on the other hand, might solve worldwide productivity issues, giving it basically infinite reach. The marketplace doesn't reward hard work alone, it rewards solutions. And the bigger the problem you solve, the greater the wealth generated. At the end of the day, money simply follows value. When we step back and look at this whole summary, notice that the real game being played is completely invisible. It's all about systems, ownership, compounding time, leverage, and global solutions. And did you notice what's beautifully missing from this list? Not a single rule here relies on designer clothes, expensive watches, or fast cars. The true billionaire playbook is entirely invisible to the public eye, built on quiet, calculated decisions. But all of this leads us to one final, incredibly critical question. What happens when everything is on the line and you face the final invisible rule? Risk. Because ultimately, the one rule that determines whether wealth survives for decades or just vanishes overnight is risk. And billionaires, they don't avoid it. They simply understand it better than everyone else. That is the true invisible edge. So take these rules, think about the systems you are building today, and ask yourself, what problem are you solving?